What if Light Yagami was real? How much damage would he cause, and what kind of world would he create? In this scenario, there are two rules that I need to establish. The first is the manga Death Note is wiped from existence, and the second is that only Light is real. Everyone else from L to Ryuk don't exist. So now that that's out of the way, let's begin. At first, it starts out like the manga, with Light Yagami slowly testing his Death Note on criminals he sees on either Twitter, TV, YouTube, etc. Immediately there is discussion on social media due to the random nature of these deaths, and there being no physiological reason for these heart attacks. But discussion is minimal until Light goes on his first rampage. Hundreds or even thousands start dying of heart attacks in a short time span. And because Light has full access to the internet, he is able to target criminals across the globe. Massive investigations are conducted into the deaths, but figuring out why thousands of healthy people are all dying of heart attacks almost simultaneously is impossible. Plus, no one is assuming that it's a teenage boy killing everyone with a book. And thanks to social media and the internet, these facts spread everywhere, causing massive hysteria. So far, Light is succeeding in one area. People are seeing him as a god, but not in the way he likes. There are multiple religions that preach how their god will punish wrongdoers, and with Light killing off the worst of society in such an obvious way, it's seen as divine intervention before their eyes, and it will lead to religious rates spiking and new religions forming that worship Kira, either out of devotion or fear. And thanks to Light murdering so many criminals, these religions will encourage punishing wrongdoers to mimic their great leader. He's also turning countries into essentially massive police states. That's because Light is just killing all criminals he could get his hands on, without confirming if they were wrongfully convicted or not. Meaning that getting sent to prison would be seen as a death penalty, and since no one knows Light's moral code, you'll be terrified of breaking any crimes, and terrified that at any moment, you would die of a heart attack. Light is also threatening government and polices across the globe to hand over criminal records by sending messages through his victim, meaning that outside of lawless and unstable areas, Light has access to almost everyone. Now the question we need to ask is, will Light get caught? Since the majority of people are assuming that it's divine intervention, or are continuing to look for a scientific reason, investigations into Light would be hampered, but it would be helped by a few things. The first is that Light can't help responding to challenges, and he is intentionally drawing attention to his crimes to promote the Kira image. The second thing is the internet. Imaginary Access explains how websites like 4chan have a history of solving cases using small details, and they would all be focusing on solving the Kira case. Also, all of Light's internet searches, video watches, etc. are being saved and would be handed over to the authorities if they believe that Light is the killer. But this won't be enough to catch Light. The biggest reasons are that no one is assuming that Light is killing thousands with the book. People would have to assume that it isn't divine intervention, it isn't an unknown disease, or even a massive crime ring working across the globe to kill people, before assuming that a single person is responsible for the murders. And even if they assume that, Light's knowledge of the internet and their investigation against him, and him threatening or assassinating anybody that doesn't side with him, would make it hard to take actions against him. Light's biggest issue would be that his need for a name and a face to kill would make him powerless in less developed countries, especially since that he needs the true name, and not specifically the one recorded in the registry or in documents. The world would absolutely pick up on that and wonder why places like the US, Canada, or Japan are being disproportionately affected. This could lead to a theory that someone having their name or face made public or having it documented in the system would make them more susceptible to dying. And if that idea starts spreading, it would lead to everyone being afraid to reveal their name or have their picture taken, and instead rely on other forms of identification. Although it's just as likely people would assume that those who are dying are inferior or forsaken by God, which would lead to an increase in prejudice and racism. So my conclusion for what would happen if Light was real is this. Light wouldn't be caught and would have free reign to kill any wrongdoer, but would struggle with developing countries. The world would have less wars because of Light threatening any government that disturbs the peace. But for the average person, you'd live in a world with people terrified to give out names or have pictures taken. You'd live believing that at any moment Kira would kill you, and there would be an increasing amount of Kira fanatics worshipping him. Still, that's all I have to say about this what if. Comment down what you think would happen, and I'll see you next time.